Sigma guys have 8 peculiar behaviors that no one else can relate to. Others may find these behaviors bizarre or peculiar, yet they are just typical of that personality type. If you belong to Sigma male, you may have seen some of these behaviors in yourself, which is why others often misinterpret you and fail to comprehend your motivations. The first thing that most people don't understand about Sigma guys is that they want to sit in the rear to blend in. Have you ever seen how some individuals always choose the rear seats during meetings or classes? Sigma men have a tendency to seek seats or locations where they can watch their surroundings without being in the limelight, unlike alpha males, since they prefer to observe rather than be the focus of attention. Others may find this odd, but sitting at the back gives them a sense of control and comfort and allows them to leave early if a meeting becomes dull. They are the ones that prefer to be quiet and let others take center stage, so they can blend in without anybody noticing. They choose the back of the room because they believe it gives them a better view of the whole scene, not because they are timid or don't want to participate. Because they are so quiet, they prefer to stay in the background, not because they are not interested, but because it's their way of gathering insights while avoiding any unnecessary chatter. Number 2, they disappear without explanation. This gives them a sense of being in their own space even in a crowded room. It's like having the best of both worlds being present but also without all the attention. They usually don't talk unless they have something important to say, so people might think they're not paying attention, but they are so perceptive that they frequently know more than others in the room. Sigma guys, like warriors, are able to blend in with the crowd without anybody noticing. They don't always say goodbye or provide an explanation for their departure, which might come out as impolite or odd to others. This is just their way of avoiding meaningless small chat or lengthy goodbyes. They don't feel pressured to remain because everyone else is, and they would rather go whenever it's convenient for them. They will discreetly dissolve if they've had enough or if the conversation's subject is dull. This also holds true for social media. They can suddenly erase all of their accounts without providing a reason, leaving users confused and unsure of what transpired. Because they value their privacy and freedom and don't need anyone's validation or approval, Sigma men see sudden disappearances as just another way to exercise control over their own decisions. They don't feel the need to defend their actions to others. They just do what feels right for them, even if it seems strange to others. Third, they give a text message too much thought before sending it. Ever notice how sometimes you enter something, delete it, and then type it again, but you never send it? In such case, you are unquestionably a Sigma. These guys have a reputation for overanalyzing situations, particularly when communicating via technology. To avoid coming out as excessively eager or saying anything that may not be understood, they meticulously construct each communication and carefully examine every word before sending it out. They are often misinterpreted and want to make sure the message conveys precisely what they intend. Therefore, in certain situations they may even decide not to send a message at all for fear of how it will be taken. This is about interacting with a new person or in a business context, not about sending such SMS to close friends or relatives. It's interesting because they read it again, adding commas here and altering words there, even though to them it's simply a text. It may seem odd, but that's what they do. Sometimes, after all that overanalyzing, they decide not to send the message at all, instead putting their phone aside and thinking about phoning them. This is an odd behavior, but it's a part of their careful personality. They want to make sure everything is perfect before sending the fourth message, and they respond with one word to avoid long, boring talks. Have you ever been forced to listen to someone who never stops talking about something very dull? Time seems to be slowing down, and you're eager to get away. You could even start searching for a way out. When compelled to participate in a dull discussion, Sigma men experience a great deal of frustration, don't they? Even though they aren't the most chatty people, they can have a lively discussion when it's about something important to them. However, if the subject is dull or unimportant, they will want to cut the conversation short as soon as possible, and their go-to response in these circumstances is to provide a one-word response. A Sigma would respond, "Cool," or "Interesting," instead of nodding in agreement while someone continues talking about how dull it is for paint to dry. They are not attempting to be impolite. These brief answers are their method of courteously wrapping up the discussion without having to continue. They just don't see the sense in talking about something that doesn't concern them since they have better things to do with their time. The next time you're in a dull conversation, consider this move. It could be the escape tactic you need. It's like attempting to explain quantum physics to someone who doesn't care about science. It's just not worth the effort. The majority of individuals like compliments because it gives them a sense of accomplishment, but Sigma men are a bit different. When you praise someone excessively, they don't like it. Receiving too many praises may sometimes come off as strange or phony, even while it's nice to hear when you've done something well. Getting too much attention or praise isn't necessarily something they like. In general, Sigma guys are modest and don't need continual validation from others to feel good about themselves. They are self-assured and don't need encouragement from others. They may feel uneasy when someone is attempting to use them since they will often attempt to minimize or divert any praise. They could even start to mistrust the person's motives or worry whether what they're saying is sincere. If they don't often go out of their way to appreciate them, they may get suspicious if they receive too much attention. Additionally, they would rather keep things casual and not make a big deal out of it than to be treated differently or placed on a pedestal because of a few compliments. They believe that doing things correctly is the right thing to do, not for accolades, therefore they really appreciate it when others listen to them and follow their advice. Sixth, they avoid small chat by keeping things concealed from others. When you encounter someone you kind of know, like a chatty colleague or a neighbor who is always asking too many questions, you've all had the sensation of feeling invisible. This is the time when Sigma men hate idle chatter and meaningless discussions, particularly from those uninteresting individuals who have nothing of value to contribute. For example, they may choose a different route or suddenly become very interested in reading the back of a cereal box in the grocery store, making every effort to avoid any encounter. This may seem drastic, but it's only their way of avoiding something that drains them. They don't like talking about dull subjects only to be kind or to keep the parent-child bond intact. It feels meaningless to them. They don't want to spend time or energy on meaningless chats, but they also don't want to be impolite. Those encounters seem forced and artificial, which is why people hate them. If there is nothing significant to discuss, it is preferable to stay quiet. Because of this, they could seem preoccupied or look away if they encounter someone they know but aren't close to. They use this strategy to keep things straightforward and steer clear of a talk that doesn't significantly improve their day. Some people may find this odd, but it all comes down to how they spend their time. Finally, they discreetly critique the word choices of others. Unbelievably, Sigma men pay close attention when people speak, not only to hear what is being said but also to see how it is put together. They read and listen quite intently, taking note of the words that people use and how they are chosen. They can infer a lot about someone's intelligence, intentions, and personality simply by the words that they use. This isn't to suggest that they are judgmental, rather, it's just a natural observation. They are detail-oriented, and language is one of them, but they keep quiet about it. They simply keep it to themselves. This may seem strange, but it just demonstrates how much attention they pay to details. They aren't attempting to be arrogant or flaunt their vocabulary. They simply have a keen eye for how people express themselves. They also consider the meaning of what people say in order to ascertain their genuine motives and intentions, which is why they are resistant to being duped by someone's flattering remarks or smooth talk. Because they can see through the facade and either call it out or just mentally note it, they are excellent at reading between the lines and figuring out people's genuine intentions, making it almost hard to control them with words. They may not always vocalize their observations, even if they don't state it explicitly, but it doesn't mean they don't notice or care about number 8, which is that they never divulge too much of themselves when it comes to disclosing private information or expressing their emotions. Being naturally secretive, Sigma males tend to be quite reserved and avoid talking about personal issues until they feel like they are the center of attention. Other people may find this strange because they believe that these guys are concealing something, but in fact, they just cherish their privacy and don't feel the need to divulge personal information to anybody else. They only choose to tell those who need to know. They are also quite self-sufficient and prefer not to depend on others. They are capable of managing their own issues and do not like to burden others with them. They may come off as mysterious, curious, or elusive since they aren't as outspoken as others, but that doesn't imply they don't have emotions or vulnerabilities. They just choose to hide them. They also avoid trusting others readily since they have seen enough to know that people may be unpredictable and unreliable. As a result, They prefer to be careful and protect themselves from potential danger.